Hi, everyone. My name is Steve, and I'm a licensed psychotherapist, and I'm excited about this guest today. We're going to learn all about what it is to be an RBT, a registered behavior technician, and also a research coordinator. And as you know, this channel is all about mental health, promoting mental health, how you can feel better, but also careers in mental health. So, my guest today's name is Todd Davison. Todd, you want to start off just by introducing yourself and maybe giving one interesting fact about you?
For sure. My name is Todd Davison. I am a research coordinator here in Atlanta, Georgia, with the Marcus Autism Center. And a fun fact about myself is that I had my 15 seconds of fame performing with Mariah Carey and Todd Davison on the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Wow, not many people can say they did that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Okay, so you say you're a research coordinator, but I know before that you were an RBT, research, what is called registered behavior technician. Can you tell me what
Correct.
that is and what the training involved is for that?
Yes, so a registered behavior technician is essentially the right-hand man to the board certified behavior analysis or analyst rather, and this is primarily in the field of ABA or applied behavior analysis.
Mhm.
Essentially, what the RBT does is they carry out all the protocol, the plans, the behavior plans for the specific client that they have in terms of what the family wants to see them progress in, whether it's social behavior, mental behavior like cognition, emotion, or just everyday living skills, brushing their teeth, putting on clothes, using the bathroom. And I essentially worked for various ABA services in both Georgia and Boston, Massachusetts. And primarily, we worked in home early intervention. So we came to the families in their most comfortable setting, which is the home.
Okay. So
Mhm.
you did that. What's the training involved? So I know you, of course, you got it after high school, you probably do 4 years of undergrad, but what's the training like for that?
Yes, correct. So after high school, you normally would like to go to an undergrad course that primarily is like psychology or something within the health field. I chose a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology at St. John's University, and then I went on to pursue a master's in ABA, a Master of Science. And essentially, what the curriculum requires is that while you're in these courseworks, you also have a practicum course, which means that you go to or you intern essentially at a service or organization that does ABA services. So what I did was while also I took training at these organizations while also being in school. So essentially it was learning on both ends of the street. And what I did at the end of my course is that after gaining enough hours, I would be able to sit for the BCBA exam where I could become a board certified behavior analyst.
And how many hours is that?
It depends. So
Yeah.
if you do concentrated work, it
Uh-huh.
is about 1,500 hours. If
Okay.
it's non-concentrated, it's about 2,000 hours.
Awesome. All
Mhm.
right. When I first got into the field, I worked all with people on the autism spectrum. It's a population that's very near and dear to my heart. So that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So after that, now you're a research coordinator. Could you explain what that is and the amount of time it takes, like the training for that?
Yes. So, as a research coordinator, I work at Marcus Autism Center,
Okay.
and we see a multitude of behavioral and mental conditions, developmental disabilities. My job as a research coordinator is to help get families aligned in research that would be both beneficial for the community of Georgia in terms of we provide a service where people can learn more about their child's development, how they are progressing, and also just for the world in general. So these one thing that's cool about Marcus Autism Center is that it is one of the largest organizations in not only America, North America, but the world in terms of treating people with developmental disabilities, more specifically children. And so that's something that I've always felt passionate about. And with working with children, requires a whole bunch of training, whether it's training for like the actual developmental disabilities, learning about them, learning how um, research has in the past affected how we learn about them today or know about them today, and then also just learning about how to deal with families, how to work with families, and yeah, there's a whole bunch that goes into research. I'm in training every day almost.
Yeah,
So yeah.
that's very, very interesting too, because as a child, I had some developmental issues with walking, some speech delays. And I remember my mom,
Mm.
it was very hard for her to go through that whole system and know how to find services and all that kind of stuff. So I love the work that you're doing.
Yeah, and that's one of the cool things about working at Marcus as well. When you're in a research study, it's primarily like to, work on research for the entire world to learn from. But at the end of it, it can be very beneficial for families. And I'll give you an example. So I work on the infant twin study at my specific job, and I work on other studies as well.
Yeah.
But this infant twin study focuses on all ranges of development, language, motor skills, fine motor skills, gross and fine. Um, and at the end of it, we normally follow these children from birth to 18 months. So it's a longitudinal study. And what we like to do is we track them at certain time points. And by the 18-month visit, we normally have, like, if there's suspicion of children that have developed ASD, then they get the additional screening or the diagnostic visit, as we call them, which can be a pretty cool asset for the families to know about. And then there's also, because they've been in our studies, they have that leg up in knowing what resources are available to them, not just at Marcus, but throughout the entire state of Georgia as well.
Beautiful. I love it. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
it's pretty cool.
so research coordinators, okay, so when I hear research, I'm trying to think of the mind of maybe like a high school or someone has no idea, so I'm thinking like laboratories or maybe like what kind of settings do research coordinators work in?
So that's the cool thing too. I once thought about laboratories as well, wearing like the white jacket, all this, the gloves, the goggles and stuff.
Right, right,
But
right.
my work day looks like I'm walking into a living room. The places or the rooms that we use for our children pretty much mirror like a comfortable in-home setting. It's
Wow.
just in a clinical organization. So it's pretty cool. We have many aspects of it, but the assessment visits that we have where the families come to see us, it's like walking into your own house. We do also have like MRIs, which are a little bit more scientific, which families can also view and see how they, how they like it. But for me, it's very much a comfortable place. I wear regular clothes, business casual for the most part, and yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's pretty
Mhm.
cool.
Okay. So for this question, I know you're working primarily with people on the autism spectrum or you have experience there. Do you have
Mhm.
any specialties or was there ever any like a specialty population that you like to work with or anything?
Oh, um, I can tell you the population that started me on this journey, more specifically started me on the ABA journey, was my first job out of undergrad. I worked as a residential counselor in the city of Boston for a group home. The group home that I worked for was the Home for Little Wanderers, and the children that we primarily focused on or served were children that had a wide range of both mental and behavioral health conditions. So these kids were from ages 8 to 13. 13 was about the age where they aged out of our specific setting. But yeah, they had a range of uh, disabilities, behavioral disorders, all types of things of that nature. And that's what started me in this whole journey, I guess, to where I am now. So it's pretty cool to say like that. I think that was my favorite population to work with.
And I've noticed with clinicians, and I consider you a clinician too, is when they hear those kinds of challenges, group homes, behavioral challenges, they run in the opposite direction. So I think that's really cool that that's something that you've taken an interest in.
Yeah, I will say like in undergrad, if you were to tell me that I would have worked with uh such a population, I probably wouldn't believe you. I didn't quite honestly know what I wanted to do out of undergrad. But I do remember as a work study in undergrad, like I worked with children and I kind of started a fire, or some sort of like ignition was put into place right there. But in terms of the population of children, I would not have bet my life that I would be working with who I did. But it was awesome. And I think it definitely takes a special type of person to do so because it requires a lot of patience, a lot of mental fortitude, to get through it for sure.
Right. And now, speaking of mental fortitude, patience, has there been any challenges that you faced up until this point, getting to where you are?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think anytime you work with children, um, it can be difficult whether it's with the people that you work with or for the families. For the residential job, it was definitely working with the families because these children are taken out of their homes. So
Mhm.
essentially, they're put into a foster care system, and these parents have to trust complete strangers to take care of their children.
Yeah.
Most of them have like a really good foundation of who their children are, um, prior to them being taken out of the home, so they know a great deal about them. And when it comes to their care, they have, of course, differing opinions of like what they should do. And so that's a difficult thing within itself. And then coming from that to then being an RBT, it's sort of a similar thing where it's like you're working with the family to build habits for the children to be better, to be more independent, but the family knows them better than you will ever know them because they
Mhm.
live with them. Um, so family working with parents was probably a most consistent theme throughout every job that I've had so far. I also forgot to mention that I did work for the state of Massachusetts as a social worker technician. So I did still work with families and children,
Yeah.
and it was just, one after the other. So I went from a residential counselor to a social worker technician to an RBT to now a research coordinator where I still work with families. And I work in um a less, how do I say, involved capacity where I'm not necessarily implementing a whole lot of plans or procedures, but I'm the front face. Like I'm the person that they talk to when they have an issue. I'm a person that they talk to when they have any questions about what they're getting into.
Right.
So um I think it's definitely working with families, communicating with families as best as I can. That's the common theme.
Right. Now, so let's say you're working with a child, right? People don't realize this. So you're working with the child, so that's your client. It would seem like the child is your client, but no, when you're working with children, the entire family system and all the stakeholders are your client.
Yes.
Well, they
Yes.
input. So I like what you touching on there.
Yes, and that's something that in learning about it in my master's program, made it more evident from the jobs prior. Like
Right.
the family is much more, not much more, but just as much of an equal part in this whole client. The shape of a client includes the family, and they have to buy into it as well because the children, they can only do so much. They can only consent to so much as well because of their age for most of them. So when it comes to that, the buy-in, the trust, you definitely have to reach the family.
Okay. So we're coming down at the end. A few more questions, and I'll get you out of here. All
Mhm.
right. What's your favorite thing to do outside of your job?
Oh man, I have so many things that I like to do, but I primarily focus on working out right now, working out and art. So I took up film photography sometime last year. I want to say around like October of 2023. And this was all in an effort to be more patient.
Okay.
Film photography is very, very difficult to learn, especially if you've grown up in a very digital world where you have digital photography already at your hands with your phone, so you could see like the immediate outcome and improve upon that. Film photography is a whole different level. But yeah, film photography and working out for sure.
Okay. I'm gonna have to
Mhm.
talk to you offline. I got some art too that I'll be able to show you.
Okay, okay, cool.
So what kind of advice would you give to an aspiring, whether RBT or do you call it RC or just research coordinator? What would you, what kind of advice would you give to an aspiring one that wants to pick one of those careers?
um I would say the best advice that I can give you is be okay with failing, because it will happen, and it will happen often. Um, but it's all in the effort to make you a better
Mm,
person and a better RBT, RC, whatever you choose to be, especially in the health field. There will be a lot of mistakes. A lot of people don't realize that with the mental health field or with any health profession, that there's a lot of mistakes that are involved, but that's in the effort to be better,
yeah,
and it's such a high pressure field that we are in, because people rely on us to be, I guess, like their superhero in a
yeah.
certain way.
Hmm.
Whether it's as a psychologist, working with them to, tackle whatever traumas or things that they go through, or whether it's like in research for me, where they're trying to find an answer or get closer to like, learning about their children.
Right,
Um, they depend a lot on you, but you know, they have to also realize that you're human just like them.
right.
And you have to realize that as well when you're in these roles, like you're human, you're gonna make mistakes. But the mistakes is what helps build for a better experience of the entire thing. So
Okay. And that, before we end, I gotta emphasize that point because if I were talking to a young person, I would say it's not even a matter of if you make a mistake. No, you have to, you will. It's a part of the, like you must, it's gonna happen. And
yeah,
every mistake, you're just getting a step closer because I love the fact that you said that. That's great.
yeah. And that's coming from a person who hates to make a mistake. I feel like I'm very much like the stereotypical type A personality, where it's like I have to have control over every single variable. And when I can't, like either from outside of my power, like exterior forces, I have to accept that and I have to roll with it. But in the end, I always come out learning from it. So I get more comfortable as days go on, but I definitely make mistakes.
There you go. So if somebody
Yeah.
wants to get in touch with you, what's the ways to do that? You have any contact information?
Yeah, actually, I you can reach me at Todd Davison at CHOA.org. That's my work email. I do respond very quickly on those. You can also follow me on Instagram, Twitter. My at name is kind of interesting, kind of artistic.
Yeah.
Kinfolk, KINPHEAUXK, and that's on Instagram, uh, Twitter, whatever you can find me at.
Okay. I
Mhm.
saw that before. Okay, now it's starting to make
Yeah,
sense.
yeah,
All right.
yeah.
So thank you so much for joining me. I really, really appreciate it. And for those that are watching, make sure to comment if you want, subscribe, follow us. We're going to have a lot more videos like this, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.
Thank you.